I want to now bring up and ask you guys what you think about this. Are you warming up to UConn in the Big 12? I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. Thanks for being here as a part of the show. And we hope that you'll subscribe. I bring this up because UConn took care of North Carolina 27-14 in the Fenway Bowl on Saturday. And UConn, for all the criticism, for all the questions, for all the issues around this team and whether or not they should be invited eventually to the Big 12, and we know that Brett Yormark wants to put them in the Big 12, I always wondered about the football. But I watched them beat UNC in the Fenway Bowl on Saturday, and I thought to myself, here's a UConn team that went 9-4. And then I started digging into the numbers a little bit. And I dug into the numbers, and I thought, well, UConn hadn't won 9 games since 2007 under Randy Edsall, when they won the Meineke Car Care Bowl. Or they lost it, actually, against Wake Forest, 24-10. And UConn finished that season tied for first in the Big East Conference. Now they're independent, and they didn't technically beat a Power 4 school until the bowl game on Saturday. But when you dig into the numbers, outside of a blowout loss to Maryland in week 2, 50-7, UConn was competitive. They lost to Duke by 5, 3 points to Wake Forest, and a 7-point loss to Syracuse. Yes, a Syracuse team that knocked off number 6 Miami in the final week of the regular season, with the Hurricanes still hoping to make the college football playoff. And frankly, the question around UConn doesn't need to be whether or not UConn football can win the Big 12. The question should be whether or not UConn football can just be competitive enough in the Big 12 on the football field to justify adding them as a basketball program. That's it. They just can't be what KU was pre-Lance Leipold. That's it. They can't be that awful at football. They don't have to be good. They can be a team that goes 4-8 in football every year. Maybe, you pop to 5-7. Maybe you're bowl eligible once every 4 or 5 years. You're competitive enough, but the basketball makes it worth it. That's the question that Big 12 athletic directors and university presidents need to be thinking about when it comes to this conference and whether or not expansion with UConn makes sense. Yormark wants to do it. There's no doubt in my mind he wants to do it. The question is mostly about whether or not university presidents and athletic directors can get over the UConn football aroma that is out there, because it's not a good aroma. It's an aroma that you would find somewhere in the Texas Panhandle when you drive by, a cattle yard or something like that. But then when you actually look at where they're at, and also I guess we'll call it trust but verify approach that UConn would have to give the Big 12 and saying, we will invest in football if we get into the Big 12 and start getting some Big 12 money to at least be competitive. And then also have that brand in for basketball, which gets you into the number 1 media market in New York City. And also in a zero-sum game that is conference expansion, keeps UConn out of the ACC. There is a battle behind the scenes for the number 3 conference in America. It's quietly happening. We know the SEC and the Big 10 are where they are. You can't deny that. Who's number 3? Both the Big 12 and the ACC can make that case. And if you bring UConn to the Big 12, you keep them out of the ACC. And the ACC, if they can figure out all their legal troubles and infighting, adding UConn would, I believe, make them a potentially more appealing conference than the Big 12 from a basketball perspective. They would have Syracuse, and I know Syracuse has been down, but I'm just talking from a brand old Big East perspective. Syracuse, Notre Dame, UConn, Boston College, all former Big East teams, right? With great alumni bases in the New York City market. Duke, North Carolina, Louisville. Those could rival the Big 12 from a quality and basketball brand perspective. And if the race is on, the Big 12 and its decision makers would be wise to look at the potential addition of UConn as part of the arms race that college sports has become. and take that trust but verify approach that the Huskies will do what they have to do to stay competitive or be competitive in football, while understanding the value of UConn is not about the gridiron, but rather the hardwood, and also playing defense against the ACC. That needs to be where the conversation goes when we think about what makes sense for the Big 12 and the future of this conference going forward. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports. Thank you guys for being here on the show. We appreciate you guys being a part of it, as always. I'm looking at some of your comments here and seeing what you guys think of all this. Oh, gosh. I get it. It's controversial. Some of you love it. Some of you hate it. It's going to be one of those things that continues to be discussed in the weeks and months ahead. I'm just putting the conversation and laying the foundation for you out there as we go into a post-football environment. But we'll have plenty of basketball for you as well. Conference play gets going this week. So once we turn the page from football, there will be a lot of basketball to discuss, of course, in the Big 12. That's why you want to make sure you are subscribed to the channel here at heartlandcollegesports.com. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports. Go Big 12.